Get up and clean this house. You're useless just sitting there all day. The words sliced through the quiet Sunday afternoon like a knife. I looked up from my tea, still warm in my hands, and saw her standing there. Clarissa, my daughter-in-law, arms folded across her chest, glaring at me like I was dirt on her shoe. Her kitchen. That's what she thought. I said nothing. Just stared at her, calm as still water, while my heart hammered against my ribs. Years of living had taught me something. Silence isn't weakness. Sometimes, it's the strongest weapon you've got. What? You can't hear now? She stepped closer, her voice rising. Maybe that's why this house looks like a mess. Old and useless, just like you. Have you ever been disrespected by someone you helped? Someone you opened your home to, fed, loved, only to have them turn around and spit in your face? If you have, then you know exactly what I felt in that moment. But I didn't move. Didn't flinch. I just took another sip of my tea and watched her face turn red with frustration. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. See, Clarissa had no idea who she was talking to. She saw a 74-year-old woman with grey hair and wrinkled hands, someone she could push around. What she didn't see was the woman who'd survived everything life threw at her, who'd built this house from nothing with a husband who loved her, who'd kept going even after burying that husband 10 years ago. She didn't see the deed sitting in my bedroom drawer with my name on it, and only my name. I set my cup down slowly and stood up. My knees ached, but I didn't let it show. I looked her straight in the eye. Dear, I said, my voice soft but steady, this house isn't yours. It's the inheritance you will never see. Her face changed instantly. The anger drained away, replaced by confusion, maybe fear. What are you talking about? She snapped, but her voice had lost its edge. I walked past her, my slippers shuffling against the hardwood floors Charles and I had laid down 30 years ago. I went to my room, opened my dresser drawer, and pulled out the folder Mr. Burrell had given me 2 weeks earlier. When I came back, Clarissa was still standing there, frozen. I held up the deed, the official paper with the county seal stamped in the corner. This house, I said, tapping the document, belongs to me. Not you. Not Raymond. And when I'm gone, it won't be yours either. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She snatched the paper from my hands and started reading. Her lips moved as she scanned the words, and with every line, her expression grew darker. You gave it away? She whispered. I did, I said. To people who will actually appreciate it. You can't do this, she said, shaking her head. Raymond, your son. He deserves this house. We've been living here, taking care of you. I almost laughed. Taking care of me? The woman who'd just screamed at me was now playing saint? You've been living under my roof, I said quietly. Eating my food. But taking care of me? No, dear. You've been waiting for me to die. The words hung in the air between us. Clarissa's hands trembled, and the paper slipped from her fingers, floating to the floor. I heard you, I continued, my voice still calm. 2 weeks ago. On the phone. Laughing about how this house would be yours once I was gone. Her face went white as cotton. Don't, I said before she could speak. Don't insult me with excuses. I know exactly who you are now. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then, without another word, Clarissa turned and stormed out. I heard her footsteps pounding up the stairs, heard the bedroom door slam so hard the pictures rattled. I bent down slowly and picked up the deed from the floor. I folded it carefully and tucked it back into the folder. Then I sat back down, picked up my tea, and took another sip. It had gone cold, but I didn't care. For the first time in months, I felt warm from the inside out. But this wasn't over. When Raymond came home that evening, I knew the real storm was about to begin. Would you have stayed quiet or spoken your mind? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more true justice stories. My name is Eunice Davenport, and I wasn't always the woman who could stare down disrespect without blinking. There was a time when I was young, hopeful, and believed that love could fix anything broken in this world. I grew up in rural Georgia, where the sun beat down hard on cotton fields and harder on the people who worked them. My mama used to say, "Eunice, baby, this world ain't made for soft women. You gotta be steel wrapped in silk." I didn't understand what she meant back then. I do now. I met Charles Davenport when I was 22 years old, working as a seamstress in a little shop on Main Street. He walked in one Tuesday morning, hat in hand, asking if I could fix a torn jacket. He was quiet, respectful, with hands that looked like they knew hard work. When he smiled, something in my chest shifted. We courted for 8 months before he asked me to marry him. No fancy ring, no bended knee. Just him and me sitting on his mama's porch, watching fireflies dance in the summer heat. "Eunice," he said, taking my hand, "I can't promise you riches, but I can promise you'll never wonder if you're loved." I said yes before he finished talking. We got married in a small church with 12 people watching. My dress was borrowed, his suit was pressed but worn at the elbows. We didn't care. We had each other, and that felt like enough. But life doesn't hand you anything easy when you're black in the South, especially back then. Charles worked 3 jobs: construction during the day, janitorial work at night, weekend shifts at the docks. I sewed clothes for white families who paid me half what they'd pay someone lighter-skinned. We saved every penny. Lived in a one-room shack with walls so thin you could hear the neighbors breathing. We ate beans and rice most nights, splurged on chicken on Sundays. But we were building something. Brick by brick, dollar by dollar. It took us 7 years to buy our first piece of land. Another 5 to build the house. Charles drew up the plans himself, taught himself carpentry from library books. I painted every wall, sanded every floor, planted roses out front because my mama always said a home without flowers isn't a home at all. The day we moved in, Charles carried me over the threshold even though we'd been married 12 years by then. He set me down in the middle of our living room, both of us surrounded by boxes and paint cans, and he kissed my forehead. "This house will always protect you, Eunice," he whispered. "Long as I'm breathing, you'll always have a home." I believed him. God, I believed him with everything in me. We wanted children desperately. I got pregnant twice in our first 5 years of marriage. Lost both babies before I ever held them. The second miscarriage nearly broke me. I cried for weeks, blamed my body, blamed God, blamed everything. Charles never blamed me once. He just held me while I sobbed and whispered, "We'll try again when you're ready. And if we don't have children, I'll still thank God every day that I have you." Then, at 37 years old, I got pregnant again. This time, something felt different. Stronger. The doctor said I was high risk, told me to rest, to pray. I did both. Raymond Charles Davenport was born on a cold February morning, screaming loud enough to wake the whole hospital. 7 pounds, 6 ounces of pure miracle. Charles cried when he held him. Big, tough Charles who never showed emotion, tears streaming down his face. "Our boy," he kept saying. "Our boy." Raymond was everything to us. Smart, kind, respectful. He called me Mama and meant it with his whole heart. He'd help Charles fix things around the house, help me in the garden, never talked back, never caused trouble. When he graduated high school, top of his class, Charles squeezed my hand so tight during the ceremony I thought he'd break my fingers. Our son, the one they said we'd never have, walking across that stage in a cap and gown. If you believe love and respect go hand in hand, tap that like button. Charles died 10 years ago. Heart attack. Quick and sudden, like God just reached down and plucked him away. One minute he was sitting in his chair, watching the evening news, the next minute he was gone. I held his hand in the hospital while the machines beeped their final song. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "You kept your promise. You gave me a home. You gave me love. Now rest, baby. Rest." The house felt empty after that. Too big for just me. Too quiet. But it still smelled like him, pipe tobacco and Old Spice aftershave. I couldn't leave. Wouldn't leave. Raymond visited every week after his father died. He'd check on me, fix things that broke, sit with me at the kitchen table and eat my cooking like he was still a boy. He'd say, "Mama, don't worry. I'll always take care of you." I believed him too. Maybe that was my mistake, believing everyone meant the promises they made. 3 years after Charles died, Raymond met Clarissa at some work conference in Atlanta. He came home talking about this beautiful, educated woman who made him laugh. I was happy for him. My boy deserved love. When he brought her home to meet me, I tried. I really tried. She was pretty, tall, confident, with curls she was proud of. But something in her eyes was cold. Calculating. Like she was sizing up the house, the furniture, me. "Oh, Mrs. Davenport, you have such a lovely home," she said, smiling, but her eyes kept moving, scanning, assessing. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I pushed it away. Just old woman paranoia, I told myself. Give her a chance. But respect is something no generation should ever outgrow. And that's the one thing Clarissa never learned. At their wedding, she barely looked at me. Didn't ask me to help plan anything. When they cut the cake, Raymond tried to bring me a slice, but she pulled him away, whispering something that made him nod and stay by her side. I sat at my table, alone, watching my son become someone else's. That night, I went home to my empty house and looked at Charles's picture on the mantel. "Charles," I whispered, "what have I allowed into our home? Would you let them stay under your roof after this? Comment below your thoughts." 6 months after the wedding, Raymond showed up at my door on a Thursday evening. He had that look on his face, the one kids get when they're about to ask for something they know you won't like. "Mama," he said, sitting down at my kitchen table, "I need to talk to you about something." I poured him some sweet tea and waited. My stomach already knew what was coming. "Clarissa and I have been talking," he started, not meeting my eyes. "With her wanting to go back to school and my job transition, money's tight. We were wondering if maybe we could stay here. Just temporarily. Just until we get on our feet." Temporarily. That word should have been my warning sign. But he was my son. My miracle boy. The child I'd prayed for, almost died carrying. How do you say no to that? "Of course," I heard myself say. "This is your home too." The relief on his face made me think I'd made the right choice. Charles would have done the same thing, I told myself. Family helps family. They moved in the following weekend. Raymond carried boxes, smiling, grateful. Clarissa directed him like a traffic cop, pointing where everything should go. In my house. In the rooms Charles and I had built. "Put that lamp over there." "No, not there. Raymond, are you even listening?" I stood in the doorway, watching, feeling something shift in my chest. This was still my home. I just had to remember that. The first week wasn't bad. Clarissa was polite enough. She'd say good morning, help with dishes sometimes, keep her things mostly in their room. I thought maybe I'd judged her too harshly. Maybe she just needed time to warm up. But the second week, things changed. I came downstairs one morning to find her rearranging my living room furniture. The couch Charles and I had saved up for, moved. The coffee table his brother made us for our anniversary, shoved in the corner. The family photos I'd arranged on the wall, taken down, stacked on the floor. "Clarissa," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "what are you doing?" She turned, paintbrush in hand. She'd already started painting over the soft yellow walls I'd chosen with Charles 30 years ago. "Oh, Eunice," she said, "not Mama Eunice, not Mrs. Davenport, just Eunice. It's time this house looked modern. We don't live in the 1960s anymore." My throat went tight. Those walls. Charles and I painted those walls together. She shrugged. "Well, it's time for an update, don't you think?" No, I didn't think. But I didn't say that. I just watched her brush gray paint over my memories and felt something inside me crack. Raymond came home that evening, saw the changes, and smiled. "Looks good, babe. Really opens up the space." He didn't ask me what I thought. Didn't notice the way my hands shook when I washed dishes that night. Didn't see how I sat in my bedroom afterward, staring at the only room in the house that still felt like mine. The changes didn't stop. Next, it was the curtains. I'd hung lace drapes in the windows, delicate white, the kind my mama had in her house. They let in soft light, made everything feel gentle. One Saturday morning, I heard tearing sounds. I rushed to the living room and found Clarissa yanking them down, the fabric ripping in her hands. "Clarissa, please," I said, reaching for them. "Those curtains are old," she finished, tossing them in a garbage bag. "Way too old-fashioned. I ordered new ones. They'll be here Tuesday." "But I liked those curtains." She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw it, that flash of contempt, quickly hidden behind a fake smile. "You'll like the new ones better. Trust me." I didn't trust her. Not anymore. Raymond walked past, keys jingling. "Heading to the store, Mama. You need anything?" "Your mama was just telling me how much she's going to love the new curtains," Clarissa said, her voice sugar-sweet. He nodded, distracted. "That's great. Be back in an hour." And he left. Left me standing there with this woman who was erasing my home piece by piece. The weeks became months. Clarissa's boldness grew. She stopped greeting me in the mornings. Started rolling her eyes when I spoke. Whispered to Raymond whenever I walked into a room, both of them going silent until I left. I tried talking to Raymond once. Caught him alone in the garage. "Son," I said carefully, "I need to talk to you about Clarissa." His jaw tightened. "What about her?" She's changing things in the house without asking. And sometimes the way she speaks to me." "Mama." He cut me off, his voice firm. "Clarissa's just trying to help. She's got good taste, and this house needed updating. Can't you just try to get along with her?" Try to get along with her? Like I was the problem? "Raymond, this is my house. Mine and your father's." "I know that, Mama. But we're living here too. We should all feel comfortable." Comfortable. That word stung. Because I hadn't felt comfortable in my own home for months. I wanted to tell him everything. How his wife looked at me like I was an obstacle, how she erased his father's memory with every change, how I felt like a stranger in the house I'd built with my own hands. But I saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the stress lines on his forehead. He was working hard, trying to provide. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe I just needed to try harder. So I swallowed my words and nodded. "Okay, son. I'll try." He hugged me, quick and distracted, and walked back inside. I stood alone in the garage, surrounded by Charles's tools, and felt tears burn behind my eyes. That night, I pulled out the lace curtains from the garbage. They were torn, ruined, but I folded them anyway and put them in my closet. Couldn't bring myself to throw them away. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and whispered into the darkness, "Charles, what have I allowed into our home?" The house didn't answer. But somewhere deep inside me, something was starting to wake up. Something that had been sleeping for too long. Because disrespect, I was learning, is like water damage. It starts small, a leak, a drip. But if you don't fix it, eventually the whole ceiling caves in. And mine was about to collapse. If you believe no one should disrespect their elders, drop a comment and share this story. It was a warm Sunday afternoon in early spring when Clarissa finally showed me exactly who she was. Raymond had left that morning for a work trip, some conference in Charlotte that would keep him away until Tuesday. He'd kissed my cheek, promised to call, and drove off without noticing the knot of anxiety in my stomach. I'd learned by then what it meant when he left me alone with her. The morning started quiet. I made myself tea, swept the front porch, tended to my roses. The house felt heavier when Raymond wasn't there, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Around noon, I came inside to rest. My knees had been aching something fierce, and the heat was getting to me. I sat down in the living room, in what used to be Charles's chair but now sat in a different corner because Clarissa had improved the flow, and closed my eyes for just a moment. That's when I heard her footsteps. Hard. Deliberate. Coming toward me like a storm. I opened my eyes and there she was, standing in the doorway with her arms crossed, her face twisted in irritation. "Really?" she said, her voice dripping with disgust. "You're just going to sit there all day?" I blinked, confused. "I was just resting, dear. My knees." "Your knees," she repeated, mocking. "It's always something with you, isn't it?" My heart started pounding. This wasn't the usual cold shoulder or eye roll. This was different. Dangerous. "Clarissa, is something wrong?" "Yes, something's wrong." Her voice rose, sharp and cutting. "I've been cleaning this house all morning while you sit around doing nothing. You think just because you're old, you don't have to pull your weight." I sat up straighter, trying to understand. "I swept the porch this morning. I watered the garden. I get up and clean this house. You're useless just sitting there all day." The words exploded out of her like she'd been holding them in for months. Maybe she had been. Maybe Raymond's absence was all the permission she needed to finally say what she'd been thinking all along. I froze. The room tilted. In all my 74 years, through everything I'd survived, poverty, racism, loss, no one had ever spoken to me like that in my own home. "Clarissa," I said quietly, my voice shaking, "this is my house." She laughed. Actually laughed, bitter and cold. "Your house? Please. This is Raymond's inheritance. You're just living in it until—" She stopped herself, but not before I understood exactly what she meant. "Until I died." "What? You can't hear now." She stepped closer, towering over me. "Maybe that's why this house looks like a mess. Old and useless, just like you. Have you ever felt the moment your heart breaks? Not the Hollywood kind where you cry beautifully. The real kind, where something inside you splinters and you feel the pieces cutting you from the inside out. That's what I felt sitting there, looking up at this woman who'd eaten my food, slept under my roof, pretended to be family, and now stood over me like I was nothing. I wanted to scream. Wanted to tell her everything I'd survived, everything I'd built, everything she'd never understand. But years of living in a world that tried to silence women like me had taught me something. Sometimes, the loudest response is silence. So I said nothing. Just looked at her with steady eyes while my hands gripped the armrests to keep from shaking. The silence seemed to infuriate her more. "What, now you're going to play the victim? Going to run crying to Raymond about how mean I am?" I stood up slowly. My knees screamed in protest, but I didn't let her see. I met her eyes, level and calm, and for just a second, I saw something flicker in her face. Uncertainty, maybe. Or fear. Then I turned and walked to my bedroom. Each step felt like walking through water, heavy and slow. I could feel her watching me, could feel her satisfaction radiating across the room. I closed my door, locked it, and sat on the edge of my bed. And then, finally, I cried. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet tears rolling down my face while I pressed my hand against my mouth to keep the sobs from escaping. Because even in my own room, in my own house, I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of hearing me break. I cried for Charles, who would have never let this happen. I cried for Raymond, who'd become someone I didn't recognize. But mostly, I cried for myself, for the woman who'd built this home with her bare hands and was now being treated like a burden in it. The afternoon light faded to evening. I heard Clarissa moving around the house, heard the TV click on, heard her laughing on the phone with someone. Living her life, comfortable and unbothered, while I sat in the dark counting my heartbeats. Around 8 o'clock, my phone buzzed. A text from Raymond, made it safe. Hotel's nice. Love you, Mama. I stared at those words. Love you, Mama. Did he? Did he really? Because if he loved me, how could he not see what was happening? How could he leave me here with someone who hated me? I almost texted back the truth. Almost told him what his wife had said, how she'd spoken to me. But I knew what would happen. He'd make excuses for her. Tell me I was too sensitive. Ask me to try harder to get along. So I just typed back, love you too, son. Be safe. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me. This house that Charles and I had dreamed about, saved for, built together. This house that was supposed to protect me. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, I heard voices. Clarissa's voice, muffled through the walls, talking on the phone. I got up, moved to my door, pressed my ear against it. I shouldn't have. Maybe some truths are better left unknown. But I listened anyway. Yeah, girl, Clarissa's voice floated through, smug and satisfied. I know, right? Once Raymond's mother passes, the house will be ours. It's in the family, so technically, it's ours already. She laughed. That same bitter laugh from earlier. I'm just counting down the days, honestly. This house is worth a fortune. We could sell it, move somewhere better. Somewhere without all this old furniture and old memories. My hand went to my chest, pressing against the pain blooming there. What? Feel bad? She was still talking. Please. The old woman barely does anything anyway. Just sits around like dead weight. Raymond's too nice to say it, but I know he sees it too. I backed away from the door like it had burned me. My legs gave out and I sank onto my bed, hands shaking. She wasn't just disrespectful. She was calculating. Planning. Waiting for me to die so she could take everything Charles and I had built. And Raymond, my son, my miracle baby, either didn't know or didn't care. Something shifted in me that night. The sadness that had been drowning me for months started transforming into something else. Something harder. Colder. I looked at Charles's picture on my nightstand, his kind face smiling at me across the years. Charles, I whispered, you said this house would always protect me. I think it's time I protected it. I opened my nightstand drawer and pulled out an old address book. Found the number I needed. Mr. Burrell, our family lawyer. The man who'd helped us buy this house 40 years ago. I'd call him in the morning. Because Clarissa was right about one thing. This was about the house. She just had no idea who it really belonged to. If you've ever had to let go of toxic family for peace, this story is for you. Drop a heart and subscribe for more. The morning light came through my window like a promise. I hadn't slept, But I wasn't tired. Something had crystallized in me during those dark hours, clarity sharp as broken glass. I got up, showered, put on my Sunday dress even though it was Monday. When you're about to change your life, you should look like you mean it. Clarissa was still asleep when I left the house at 8:30. I took the bus downtown, watching the city wake up around me, and felt more alive than I had in months. Mr. Burrell's office sat on the third floor of an old brick building that smelled like wood polish and old paper. The receptionist smiled when I walked in. "Mrs. Davenport. It's been years. How are you?" "I'm ready," I said. "I'm ready to make some changes." Mr. Burrell looked older than I remembered, more gray hair, deeper lines around his eyes, but his smile was the same. Warm. Trustworthy. "Eunice," he said, standing to shake my hand, "what brings you in today?" I sat down across from him, folded my hands in my lap, and told him everything. Not just about Clarissa's cruelty, but about the phone call I'd overheard. About my son's blindness. About feeling like a stranger in my own home. He listened without interrupting, his face growing more serious with each word. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. "Eunice, I'm sorry you're going through this. You and Charles built something beautiful, and you deserve better." "I know," I said. "That's why I'm here. I need to know, legally, what are my options?" He pulled out a file, and we spent the next hour going through papers I hadn't looked at in years. The deed to the house. Charles's will. My own will, which I'd written shortly after he died. "Currently," Mr. Burrell explained, "the house is in your name solely. Charles left it to you outright, which was smart. But your will states that upon your death, everything goes to Raymond." "Can I change that?" "Absolutely. It's your property, Eunice. You can do whatever you want with it." Relief flooded through me. "Tell me what my options are." He laid out several possibilities. I could leave it to charity. Set up a trust. Donate it to an organization. Sell it now and move somewhere else. But one option struck me most, the one that would ensure my home, my history, the place Charles and I built, would go to people who'd actually appreciate it. What if I left it to the children's hospital? I asked. Charles and I always wanted to do something for children after we lost our babies. Mr. Burrell's eyes softened. "That would be beautiful, Eunice. We could set it up so after your passing, the property goes to them. They could use it as a facility, sell it for funds, whatever serves the children best. And Raymond would have no legal claim whatsoever." I thought about my son. My miracle baby who'd grown into a man I barely recognized. Part of me ached at the thought of cutting him out. But a bigger part, the part that had been disrespected, dismissed, and devalued, knew this was right. "What about my savings?" I asked. "The account Charles and I built? Also yours to distribute however you want." We spent the next 2 hours drafting new documents. The house would go to Children's Medical Center. My savings, a modest but respectable amount Charles and I had accumulated over 50 years, would be split between my church and a scholarship fund for young black women from underprivileged backgrounds. Raymond would get nothing. Clarissa would get nothing. "Mrs. Davenport," Mr. Burrell said, his voice warm with understanding, "you've got a kind heart. But it's time you protected yourself." "That's exactly what I'm doing," I said, signing my name across the bottom of the new will. My hand didn't shake once. Before I left, I asked for extra copies of the deed, the legal document showing the house was mine, registered in my name only, with no co-owners or automatic inheritance clauses. "Just in case," I said. Mr. Burrell smiled knowingly and handed me 3 copies in a folder. "You're stronger than you think, Eunice. Charles would be proud." I blinked back tears. "Thank you." The bus ride home felt different. I watched the world pass by my window and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power. Not the cruel kind Clarissa wielded with her words. The quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing you've taken control of your own life. When I got home, Clarissa's car was still in the driveway. I walked in with my folder tucked under my arm, head high. She was in the kitchen, coffee in hand, scrolling on her phone. She barely looked up when I entered. "Where were you?" she asked, her tone bored. "Out," I said simply. "Out where? You never go anywhere." I smiled, gentle and knowing. I had some business to handle. That made her look up. "Business? What business?" "Nothing you need to worry about, dear." Something in my voice must have registered because her eyes narrowed. "What's in the folder?" "Just some papers," I said, walking past her. "Legal stuff." I could feel her watching me as I went to my room. Could feel her curiosity turning into suspicion. Good. Let her wonder. I put the folder in my drawer, next to Charles's picture, and pressed my hand against it like a prayer. That afternoon, I worked in my garden for the first time in weeks. Pruned my roses, pulled weeds, felt the sun warm on my back. Clarissa watched me from the kitchen window, her face tight with confusion. She didn't understand why I was smiling. Didn't understand why I suddenly seemed lighter, freer. She'd figure it out soon enough. That evening, my phone rang. Raymond, calling from Charlotte. "Hey, Mama. How's everything?" I almost told him. Almost explained what I'd done and why. But something stopped me, maybe wisdom, maybe caution. "Everything's fine, son. How's your conference?" "Good, good. Clarissa treating you okay?" I paused, weighing my words. "We're managing." "Good. Love you, Mama." "Love you too." After we hung up, I sat in my room and thought about love. Real love. The kind Charles showed me, protective, respectful, unwavering. That wasn't what Raymond was showing me now. And it definitely wasn't what Clarissa had ever shown. I opened my nightstand drawer and looked at the folder one more time. At the deed with my name printed clear and legal. At the will that would protect my legacy from greedy hands. Then I heard it, Clarissa's voice from the other room, on the phone again. "I don't know, girl. She's acting weird. Went somewhere this morning, won't say where. She's smiling like she knows something." A pause. Then, "Whatever. Doesn't matter. House'll be ours eventually anyway." I closed my eyes and felt peace settle over me like a blanket. "No, Clarissa. No, it won't." 2 days later, Raymond came home. Things returned to their usual uncomfortable rhythm. Clarissa's cold shoulders, Raymond's obliviousness, my quiet endurance. But something had shifted. I wasn't enduring anymore. I was waiting. Waiting for the moment when Clarissa would finally reveal her true intentions. Waiting for the moment I could show her exactly who owned this house. I didn't have to wait long. 1 week after my visit to Mr. Burrell's office, Clarissa came storming into the kitchen waving papers, her face flushed with anger. "Eunice!" she shouted. "What did you do?" I looked up from my tea, calm as morning water. "I'm sorry, dear. What are you talking about?" She slammed the papers on the table. "The bank. I applied for a loan using this address as collateral, and they said the house isn't in Raymond's name. They said it's solely in yours and there's no automatic inheritance clause." I took a sip of my tea. "That's correct." Her mouth dropped open. "What do you mean that's correct?" "You said he'd inherit it." I said no such thing, dear. You assumed. Don't play games with me, old woman. I set my cup down gently and looked her dead in the eye. I'm not playing anything. This house is mine. My name is on the deed. And what I do with it is my decision. But Raymond is your son. This house should be his. Should it? I asked quietly. Tell me, Clarissa, when you were on the phone last week talking about how you couldn't wait for me to die so you could sell this house, did you think about what should be? Her face went pale. She'd forgotten I could hear through these thin walls. That's what I thought, I said. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to do. I stood up and walked toward my room, leaving her standing there with her mouth open and her schemes crumbling around her. Behind me, I heard her whisper, "You can't do this." I turned back, smiled softly, and said, "Watch me." What would you do if someone planned to steal what you built? Let's talk about it in the comments. The folder sat on Mr. Burrell's desk between us like a loaded gun. Everything's in order, Eunice, he said, sliding the documents across to me. Your house, your savings, everything is legally protected now. No one can contest this. I ran my fingers over the papers, feeling the weight of what I'd done. Charles's face smiled at me from the photo in my wallet, tucked in my purse. I could almost hear him saying, "That's my girl. Protect what's yours." What happens now? I asked. Mr. Burrell leaned back, fingers steepled. Now you wait. Eventually they'll find out, if they haven't already started to suspect. And when they do, there'll be questions. Anger, probably. Maybe threats. I can handle it. I know you can. He smiled gently. But Eunice, I have to warn you, this might get ugly. Family matters usually do when money's involved. It's not about money, I said quietly. It's about respect. About not letting people mistake my kindness for stupidity. He nodded slowly. Just remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation. This is your property. Your decision. You've done nothing wrong. I left his office with copies of everything, the new will, the deed, documentation showing the house belonged solely to me with no automatic inheritance. I tucked them in a folder and held it against my chest like armor. The bus ride home gave me time to think. About Raymond as a little boy, running through the house Charles built. About the way he used to look at me like I hung the moon. About how people change when they stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as an obstacle. When I got home, the house was quiet. Clarissa's car was gone. Probably out spending Raymond's money, pretending to be somebody she wasn't. I made myself tea, sat at the kitchen table, and opened the folder one more time. There it was, black ink on white paper. The property located at 428 Magnolia Drive shall pass to Children's Medical Center upon the death of Eunice Marie Davenport. Children who'd never had the chance I did. Children who'd know that somewhere, somehow, a woman who lost 2 babies made sure they'd be cared for. That felt right. That felt like something Charles would have loved. My phone buzzed. A text from Raymond, "Be home late. Don't wait up." I typed back, "Okay, son." That evening, I cooked myself dinner. Nothing fancy, just chicken and rice the way Charles liked it. I ate slowly, savoring every bite, sitting at my own table in my own house. For the first time in months, the silence felt peaceful instead of lonely. Around 9 o'clock, I heard a car pull up. Then another. Raymond and Clarissa, home together. I heard their voices outside, muffled and tense. The door opened. Raymond came in first, his face tight with stress. Clarissa followed, her eyes landing on me immediately, sharp as knives. "Mama," Raymond said, his voice strained, "we need to talk." Here it was. The moment I'd been preparing for. "Of course, son. Sit down." Clarissa remained standing, arms crossed. She knows what this is about. Raymond shot her a look. "Shut up, not now," but she ignored it. The bank called me today, he said, sitting across from me. Said Clarissa tried to use the house as collateral for a loan. They said the house is only in your name. That there's no inheritance clause. I sipped my tea. That's correct. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what, Raymond? That I own my own house? I didn't realize that needed announcing. Don't play dumb, Eunice, Clarissa snapped. You know exactly what he means. This house is supposed to go to Raymond when you die. That's how it works. I set my cup down carefully. Is it? Tell me, Clarissa, where exactly is that written? Show me the document that says my property automatically becomes yours. She sputtered, face reddening. It's family tradition. You can't just. I can, actually. And I have. Raymond's face went pale. Mama, what are you saying? I pulled the folder from beside my chair and placed it on the table. I'm saying I went to see Mr. Burrell. I updated my will. When I die, this house goes to Children's Medical Center. My savings go to charity. You get nothing. The words hung in the air like smoke after a fire. You what? Raymond whispered. You heard me. Clarissa exploded. You can't do this. That's not fair. We've been living here, helping you. I laughed then, couldn't help it. Helping me? Is that what you call screaming at me? Calling me useless? Telling your friends you can't wait for me to die so you can sell my house? Her mouth snapped shut. Raymond looked between us, confused. What is she talking about? Ask your wife, I said quietly. Ask her what she said to me 2 weeks ago. Ask her about the phone calls I overheard. Ask her why she really wanted to move in here. Mama. No. I stood up, my voice stronger than it had been in months. You don't get to mama me now, Raymond. You brought this woman into my home. You let her disrespect me, erase your father's memory, treat me like I was nothing. And you said nothing. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. My voice cracked. You chose her over me every single time. You chose comfort over truth. Well, now you get to live with that choice. Clarissa grabbed the folder, yanked out the will, and read it. I watched her face drain of color as the reality sank in. This isn't legal, she said desperately. We'll contest it. You'll lose, I said calmly. Mr. Burrell made sure of that. The house is mine. The decision is mine. And there's nothing you can do about it. Raymond just sat there, staring at the table, his world crumbling around him. Why? He finally asked, his voice small. I'm your son. Yes, I said, and my heart broke saying it. You are. And I love you. But love doesn't mean I have to let you destroy me. Love doesn't mean I have to hand over everything I built to someone who treats me like garbage. She doesn't. She does, Raymond. She has. And you let her. Silence fell over the kitchen. The clock ticked on the wall. Outside, a dog barked. Inside, everything was falling apart. We'll fight this, Clarissa said finally, but her voice had lost its edge. We'll get a lawyer. We'll do whatever you want, I said tiredly. But you should probably start looking for somewhere else to live. I want you out of my house. Raymond's head snapped up. Mama, please. 2 weeks, I said firmly. I'm giving you 2 weeks to find somewhere else to go. After that, I'll have Mr. Burrell start eviction proceedings if necessary. You'd really do that? Raymond asked, tears in his eyes. You'd really kick out your own son? You really stood by while your wife abused your mother? I shot back. I guess we're both capable of disappointing each other. I picked up my tea and walked to my room, leaving them sitting in shocked silence at my table. Behind my closed door, I finally let myself cry. Not from sadness this time, but from relief. From release. From finally standing up for myself. I heard them arguing in the kitchen. Heard Clarissa's raised voice, Raymond's defeated responses. Heard them eventually go upstairs, heard their bedroom door slam. I lay in bed that night, Charles's picture on my nightstand, and whispered, "I did it, baby. I protected our home." The house settled around me, creaking in familiar ways. It felt lighter somehow. Like it could breathe again. If you've ever had to protect your peace, hit like, and remember, silence is strength. Morning came cold and grey, matching the atmosphere in the house. I woke early, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with the deed spread in front of me. Not because I needed to see it again, but because I wanted to. Wanted to remember that I had power, that I'd reclaimed what was mine. Clarissa came down first, her face puffy from crying or rage. I couldn't tell which. She poured coffee without looking at me, her movements sharp and angry. "You're really going to do this?" she said. Not a question. A statement. Yes. "You're a spiteful old woman, you know that?" I looked up at her, calm as morning water. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just a woman who's tired of being treated like I don't matter in my own home. We could have worked this out. You didn't have to go nuclear. Nuclear. I almost laughed. Clarissa, I protected my property. You're the one who declared war when you decided I was just an obstacle between you and money. She slammed her cup down, coffee sloshing over the rim. I never said that. You didn't have to. I heard you. On the phone. Laughing about how this house would be yours once I was dead. Planning my funeral before I was even sick. Her face flushed red. You were eavesdropping. In my own house? Where you live rent-free? I shook my head. You don't get to be the victim here, dear. You showed me who you are. I just finally believed you. Raymond appeared in the doorway, looking like he hadn't slept. His eyes were red, his shirt wrinkled. He looked at both of us and seemed to shrink. "Can we please talk about this?" he asked quietly. All of us calmly. "There's nothing to talk about," Clarissa snapped. "Your mother has made her decision. She's choosing strangers over her own family." "I'm choosing dignity," I corrected. "I'm choosing respect. Something neither of you showed me." "That's not fair," Raymond said. "I've always respected you, Mama." "Have you?" I pulled out the deed, held it up. "When Clarissa painted over the walls your father and I chose together, did you respect me then? When she tore down the curtains that reminded me of my mother, did you respect me? When she screamed at me, called me useless, treated me like hired help, where was your respect then, Raymond?" He opened his mouth. Closed it. No words came. "You were too busy keeping the peace," I continued, my voice soft but cutting. "Too busy making sure she was happy. Too busy being a husband to remember how to be a son." "That's not fair," he repeated, but even he didn't sound convinced. "Life's not fair, baby. Your father and I learned that early. We worked 3 jobs each to buy this house. We lost 2 babies before you were born. We survived things you can't even imagine. And we did it together, respecting each other, lifting each other up." I looked at Clarissa. "This? What you two have? This isn't partnership. This is parasitic." Clarissa's face went from red to white. "How dare you? How dare I?" I stood up, my full height, my full power. "How dare you come into my home and try to erase me while I'm still breathing? How dare you count my days like they're inconveniences? How dare you treat me like I'm nothing?" My voice had risen, and I could feel years of held-back anger finally breaking free. I welcomed you into this family. I tried to love you because my son loved you. I ignored every red flag, every warning sign, because I wanted to believe you were good. But you're not, Clarissa. You're greedy and cruel and disrespectful. And I won't apologize for protecting myself from you. The kitchen went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and my heavy breathing. Raymond looked at his wife like he was seeing her for the first time. Really seeing her. Is it true? He asked quietly. Did you say those things about Mama? Clarissa's jaw tightened. I was venting to a friend. Everyone vents. About waiting for my mother to die so you could sell her house? I didn't. It wasn't like that. Yes or no, Clarissa? His voice had an edge I'd never heard before. Did you say it? She looked away. That was answer enough. Raymond's shoulders slumped. He pulled out a chair and sat down heavily, his head in his hands. What have I done? He whispered. I wanted to comfort him. Every maternal instinct in me screamed to go to him, hold him, tell him it would be okay. But I stayed where I was. Because some lessons, you have to learn alone. You chose, I said simply. We all choose, Raymond. Every day, we choose who we're going to be. You chose to look the other way. I chose to stand up for myself. Now we both live with those choices. Clarissa grabbed her purse from the counter. I'm not staying here and listening to this. Raymond, are you coming? He didn't move. Raymond. No, he said quietly. Go. I need to think. Her mouth fell open. Excuse me. I said go, Clarissa. Please. Just go. She stood there for a moment, rage and disbelief warring on her face. Then she grabbed her keys and stormed out. The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. The silence that followed felt like aftermath. Like standing in a field after a tornado has passed. Raymond and I sat across from each other at the table. The same table where I'd fed him breakfast before school. The same table where he'd done homework while I cooked dinner. The same table where Charles had taught him to play chess. I'm sorry, Mama, he said finally, tears rolling down his face. I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. Should have protected you. Should have been a better son. I reached across and took his hand. His grip was tight, desperate. I still love you, Raymond. But love doesn't mean I have to sacrifice myself. Do you understand that? He nodded, unable to speak. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this because I have to survive. Because I won't spend my final years being treated like a burden in the home your father and I built with our bare hands. I understand, he choked out. I do. And you're right. About everything. We sat like that for a long time, holding hands across the table while morning light filtered through the windows. Finally, he asked, is there any way to fix this? Any way to make things right? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know, son. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. Maybe impossible. But not definitely impossible. I looked at my boy, my miracle baby, now a grown man with tears on his face, and felt my heart crack. Nothing's definite, I said softly. But actions have consequences. And some things can't be undone. He nodded, wiping his eyes. We'll move out. Like you asked. I'll find somewhere for us to go. Thank you. He stood up, hesitated, then came around the table and hugged me. I held my son and felt him shake with sobs against my shoulder. I love you, Mama, he whispered. I'm sorry I forgot how to show it. I love you too, baby. I always will. When he pulled away, his eyes were red but clearer somehow. like he'd woken up from a long sleep. He went upstairs, and I heard him making phone calls. Looking for apartments, I assumed. Starting the process of untangling his life from mine. I picked up the deed, folded it carefully, and put it back in my folder. Then I went to my room, closed the door, and finally let myself break down. Not from sadness. Not from regret. From the sheer exhaustion of finally standing up for myself after years of bending. Charles's picture watched me from the nightstand. I picked it up, pressed it to my chest. Did I do the right thing? I asked his smiling face. The house creaked around me, settling in the morning warmth. And somehow, in that sound, I heard my answer. Yes, Eunice. You did. Would you have done the same in Eunice's shoes? Tell me what you think below. The next 2 weeks moved like a slow-motion car crash, inevitable, painful, impossible to look away from. Raymond kept his word. He found a small apartment across town, signed a lease, started packing. He moved through the house like a ghost, quiet and hollow-eyed, carefully boxing up his life. Clarissa was another story. She came back that evening, and the screaming match that followed shook the walls. I stayed in my room, door locked, listening to her rage echo through the house that had once been my sanctuary. You're choosing her over me? Her voice was shrill, desperate. After everything I've done for you? Raymond's response was too quiet to hear, but whatever he said made her explode again. Fine. Fine. You want to be a mama's boy your whole pathetic life? Go ahead. But don't come crying to me when you realize what you've lost. I heard footsteps pounding up the stairs, things being thrown, drawers slamming. The sound of a marriage ending is uglier than people think. Around midnight, she left. Her car peeled out of the driveway fast enough to leave rubber marks. She didn't come back. The next morning, Raymond sat at the kitchen table, staring at his coffee like it held answers. She's gone, he said flatly. Took her things and left. Said she's filing for divorce. I sat down across from him. I'm sorry, son. Are you? He looked up, and there was no accusation in his voice. Just genuine curiosity. Yes, I said honestly. I never wanted your marriage to end. I just wanted respect. He nodded slowly. I know. And you were right to demand it. He rubbed his face. I've been thinking a lot these past few days. About Dad, about how he treated you. How he protected you. How he'd be ashamed of the man I became. My throat tightened. Your father loved you, Raymond. But he wouldn't have liked who I turned into. Would he? I couldn't lie. No. Probably not. He smiled sadly. That's what I thought. Over the next days, he packed methodically. Books, clothes, the few possessions that were actually his. He left the furniture Clarissa had picked out, the decorations she'd insisted on. Took only what had been his before she'd come into the picture. I helped when I could, making him lunch, bringing him water, sitting with him when the weight got too heavy. Mama, he said one afternoon, taping up a box, can I ask you something? Of course. The house. The inheritance. Is there any world where? He trailed off, unable to finish. Where you could earn it back. I finished for him. He nodded, hope flickering in his eyes. I chose my words carefully. Raymond, this isn't about punishment. It's about protecting what your father and I built. Right now, I can't trust that you'd protect it too. Maybe someday that'll change. But right now. I shook my head. The house goes to the hospital. That decision is final. The hope died in his eyes, but he nodded. I understand. And honestly, it's probably what I deserve. It's not about deserve, I said gently. It's about trust. and trust takes time to rebuild. Do you think we can? He asked quietly. Rebuild it? I looked at my son, really looked at him. At the regret in his face, the exhaustion, the dawning awareness of what he'd lost and why. I think you can try, I said. And I think I can try too. But it won't be fast, baby. And it won't be easy. I know. He swallowed hard. Will you at least let me visit? Once I'm settled? Just to see you. My eyes stung with tears. Yes. You can visit. He hugged me then, and I held my boy and felt the complicated tangle of love and hurt that exists when family breaks your heart. Moving day came on a grey Saturday morning. Raymond loaded the last box into his truck, stood in the doorway, and looked around the house one more time. I grew up here, he said softly. Every memory I have of being happy is in these walls. I know. I'm sorry I let someone try to destroy that. I know that too. He hugged me goodbye, promised to call, and drove away. I watched his truck disappear down the street, and then I was alone. The house felt enormous and empty. I walked through the rooms, touching walls, straightening pictures. Everything was back where it belonged. My curtains, my paint colors, my memories. But it felt hollow somehow. Victory, I was learning, doesn't always feel victorious. That night, I sat in Charles's chair and cried. Not for Clarissa, she could rot for all I cared. But for Raymond. For the boy he'd been and the man he'd become. For the fracture in our relationship that might never fully heal. Did I do the right thing? I asked Charles's picture again. The house settled around me, and this time, I wasn't sure of the answer. 2 days later, I got a phone call. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello. Mrs. Davenport? A woman's voice, professional and kind. This is Sarah Chen from Children's Medical Center. We received a letter from your attorney, Mr. Burrell, about your incredibly generous gift. I wanted to call and thank you personally. My heart swelled. Oh, you're welcome. We're honored, she continued. Truly. What you're doing will help so many children. Kids who are sick, scared, who need somewhere safe to heal. Your home will give them that. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my face. That's all I wanted. For it to mean something. To help someone. It will, she said warmly. More than you know. Would you be interested in visiting the hospital sometime? Meeting some of the children who'll benefit from your kindness? I'd love that. We talked for another 10 minutes, and when we hung up, I felt lighter. Purpose, I realized. That's what had been missing. Not victory, not revenge, purpose. I called Raymond that evening. He answered on the first ring. Mama? Is everything okay? Everything's fine, baby. I wanted to hear your voice. He was quiet for a moment. I'm glad you called. I've been thinking about you. How's the apartment? Small. Quiet. Lonely. He laughed without humor. But it's mine. I'm figuring things out. Good. That's good. We talked for an hour, about nothing and everything. About his job, my garden, the weather. Small talk, but underneath it, something fragile and new. The first threads of rebuilding. When we hung up, I sat in the quiet house and realized something. I'd won. Not the way Clarissa had fought, with cruelty and manipulation. But the way Charles had taught me, with dignity, with boundaries, with self-respect. I'd stood up for myself. Protected what was mine. Refused to be erased. And that, more than any inheritance or revenge, was the real victory. The house creaked around me, familiar and safe. My home. My sanctuary. My legacy. And for the first time in years, I felt truly at peace. If you've ever had to let go of toxic family for peace, this story is for you. Subscribe for more. 3 months passed like a slow, gentle tide. The house and I settled into a rhythm, just me and the memories, the quiet mornings, the peaceful evenings. I tended my roses, cooked meals for one, volunteered at the church on Sundays. Life was simple, calm, mine. Raymond called every week, sometimes twice a week. We talked about small things at first, his job, my garden, the weather. But slowly, carefully, we started talking about real things. About his marriage falling apart, about his regrets, about the man he wanted to become. Clarissa filed the divorce papers, he told me one Tuesday evening. It'll be final in a few months. How do you feel about that? He was quiet for a long moment. Relieved, mostly. Sad too, but not the way I thought I'd be. It's like I'm mourning who I thought she was, not who she actually is. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, baby. She's asking for half of everything. My savings, my retirement, everything. He laughed bitterly. Guess she's still looking for that inheritance. She won't get it from me, I said firmly. I know, Mama. And honestly, I'm glad. You were right about her. About everything. We talked for another hour, and when we hung up, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, that would take longer. But maybe the beginning of it. The first tender shoots of healing pushing through hard ground. One Saturday afternoon, I got a call from Sarah Chun at the hospital. Mrs. Davenport, would you be free next Thursday? We'd love to give you a tour of the facility, introduce you to some of our staff and patients. We want you to see where your gift will make a difference. I wore my best dress that Thursday. Raymond offered to drive me, and I surprised myself by saying yes. The hospital was huge, bright and clean, with murals painted on the walls showing children playing, laughing, living. Sarah met us in the lobby, warm and professional, and guided us through the pediatric wing. We met doctors and nurses who spoke passionately about their work. We met children, beautiful, brave children fighting battles no child should have to fight. Kids with cancer, with rare diseases, with injuries that would change their lives forever. One little girl, maybe 7 years old, her head wrapped in a bright pink scarf, grabbed my hand. Are you the house angel? She asked, her eyes wide and hopeful. I knelt down, my old knees protesting. The house angel? Miss Sarah said an angel is giving us a house where we can go when we're sick. Where our families can stay close. Where we don't have to be scared. She squeezed my hand. Are you the angel? My throat closed up. I looked at Sarah, who smiled through her own tears. Yes, baby, I managed. I guess I am. The little girl hugged me, and I held her tiny body and felt every ounce of pain, every moment of disrespect, every tear I'd cried transform into something beautiful. Something purposeful. This was why I'd fought. Not out of spite or revenge, but to create something meaningful from my pain. Raymond watched from the doorway, tears streaming down his face. On the drive home, he was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, Dad would be so proud of you, Mama. You think so? I know so. What you're doing, it's exactly what he would have wanted. Helping kids, giving back, making sure the house means something. He wiped his eyes. I was so caught up in what I thought I deserved that I forgot what really matters. And what's that, baby? Legacy. Not the money kind, but the real kind. The kind that lives on after you're gone. I reached over and squeezed his hand. You're learning. Better late than never. Better late than never. Weeks turned into months. Spring bloomed into summer. My roses flourished, My garden grew wild and beautiful. The house felt alive again, like it could breathe. Raymond visited every Sunday for dinner. We cooked together, his father's recipes, my mother's techniques. We talked, laughed, sometimes cried. We were rebuilding. Slowly, carefully, but genuinely. One evening, as we washed dishes side by side, he said, "Mama, I know I can't undo what happened. Can't erase how I failed you. But I want you to know, I'm trying to be better. Every day, I'm trying." I dried my hands and turned to face him. "I know you are, baby. And I see it. I see you becoming the man your father raised you to be. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? Fully, I mean." I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know if forgiveness is something you reach, like a destination. I think it's something you practice, like prayer. Some days it's easy. Some days it's hard. But I'm trying too, Raymond. Every day, I'm trying. He hugged me then, and it felt different than before. Stronger. More honest. That night, after he left, I sat on my porch watching fireflies dance in the summer heat. The same porch where Charles had proposed all those years ago. The same porch I'd swept while Clarissa screamed at me. The same porch that had witnessed so much pain and joy. I pulled out my phone and looked at an email from Sarah. Photos from the hospital. Children playing, families staying close, hope blooming in sterile rooms. At the bottom, she'd written, "Because of you, Mrs. Davenport, these children have a fighting chance. Your home is giving them hope. Thank you for your beautiful heart." I read it 3 times, tears blurring the words. A week later, a letter arrived. Official, legal-looking. My heart jumped. Was someone contesting the will? But when I opened it, I found something different. A letter from Children's Medical Center, thanking me for my future donation. And attached, a certificate, the Davenport Family House, a home for healing. They were naming it after us. After Charles and me. Our legacy. Not money. Not property. But hope. Healing. Love. I called Raymond immediately. "Did you see it? The letter?" "Just got mine," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "Mama, they're naming it after our family. After Dad." "After us," I corrected. "All of us. The good we did together. I don't deserve to be part of that." "Maybe not yet," I said gently. "But you're working on it. And that counts for something." That Sunday, Raymond brought flowers to his father's grave. I went with him, stood beside him while he knelt in the grass. "Dad," he said, his hand on the headstone, "I'm sorry I forgot what you taught me. But I'm remembering now. And I'm going to make you proud. I promise." I placed my hand on Charles's name, worn smooth by time and weather. "We did it, baby," I whispered. "We protected our home. And we turned it into something beautiful." The wind rustled through the trees, warm and gentle. And I swear, for just a moment, I smelled pipe tobacco and Old Spice. Walking back to the car, Raymond said, "Mama, I know the house is going to the hospital. And that's exactly where it should go. But could I maybe help? With fundraising or volunteering. Be part of the legacy, even if I don't own it." I looked at my son, really looked at him. At the man he was becoming. The man who was learning, finally, that some things matter more than ownership. "I think that would be perfect," I said. And for the first time in years, I felt complete. Not because I'd won some battle or proven a point. But because I'd stood up for myself, protected what mattered, and created something beautiful from the ashes of betrayal. Justice doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes with peace. Drop a rose if you believe that. I'm sitting on my porch now, 6 months after everything changed, watching the sun set over the garden Charles and I planted together. The roses are blooming, Deep red, brilliant pink, soft white. They smell like memory and promise. My phone buzzes. A text from Raymond. Dinner next Sunday? I'm making Dad's chicken. I smile and type back, I'll bring dessert. This isn't a fairy tale ending where everything is magically fixed. Raymond and I are still rebuilding trust, one conversation at a time. Some days are easy. Some days, the hurt creeps back in and I remember how alone I felt in my own home, how invisible I became. But we're trying. That has to count for something. Last week, I received an email from Sarah with photos of the groundbreaking ceremony for the Davenport family house. They're building a special facility next to the hospital, a place where families can stay while their children receive treatment. Bedrooms, a kitchen, a play area. A real home. My home, transformed into hope. Raymond attended the ceremony. Stood there in his suit, representing our family, speaking about his father's legacy. Speaking about me. About what real love looks like, the kind that protects, that sacrifices, that creates something bigger than itself. I watched the video 3 times, crying each time. People ask me sometimes if I regret what I did. If I regret disinheriting my son, if I regret standing my ground, if I regret choosing peace over family loyalty. The answer is simple, no. Because here's what I've learned in my 74 years on this earth: silence is not weakness. It's wisdom choosing when to roar. For too long, I stayed silent while disrespect chipped away at my dignity. I stayed silent while someone else rewrote my history, erased my memories, treated me like an obstacle instead of a person. I stayed silent because I thought that's what love required. Endless patience, infinite forgiveness, constant sacrifice. But real love doesn't require you to disappear. Real love, the kind Charles showed me, the kind I'm learning to show myself, demands respect. It draws boundaries. It says, this far and no further. Clarissa taught me that. In her cruelty. In her greed, she showed me exactly what happens when you mistake someone's kindness for permission to destroy them. I heard through the grapevine that she remarried 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Some businessman from Atlanta with money and no sense. I hope she's happy. I hope she learned something. But honestly, I don't think about her much anymore. That's the thing about healing. Eventually, the people who hurt you become footnotes instead of headlines. Raymond comes by every Sunday now. We cook together, eat together, talk about everything and nothing. Last week, he brought his new girlfriend, a sweet woman named Patricia who teaches elementary school and calls me Mrs. Davenport without me having to ask. She looked around the house with genuine appreciation. This place has such beautiful energy, she said. You can feel the love that went into building it. Raymond squeezed my hand under the table. He knew what that meant to me. I've started volunteering at the hospital once a week. I read to the children, hold their hands when they're scared, tell them stories about resilience and hope. Last Tuesday, that little girl in the pink scarf, her name is Amara, grabbed my face and said, Miss Eunice, you have magic in your smile. If that's not purpose, I don't know what is. Charles's picture still sits on my nightstand. Some mornings, I wake up and talk to him like he never left. We did good, didn't we? I asked him this morning. With the house. With everything. The morning light streamed through my window, my lace curtains hanging exactly where they belonged, and I felt his answer in my bones. Yes, Eunice. We did real good. I've been thinking a lot lately about what legacy really means. It's not about what you leave behind for your children to inherit. It's about what you build that outlives you. It's about the lives you touch, the hope you create, the dignity you maintain even when the world tries to strip it away. My legacy isn't this house, though it's beautiful. My legacy isn't money or property or things that can be divided up and fought over. My legacy is standing up. It's drawing boundaries. It's teaching my son that love without respect is just another word for abuse. It's showing little Amara and all those other children that even when you're scared and tired and alone, you can still choose yourself. You can still choose peace. Last month, Mr. Burrell called with news. Eunice, Clarissa tried to contest the will. Said she had a verbal agreement with you about the property. I laughed. Actually laughed. Did she now? Don't worry. Judge threw it out immediately. No basis, no evidence, no case. You're protected. I know I am, I said. I've always been protected. I just had to remember it. People think revenge is loud, shouting matches and dramatic confrontations. But the quietest revenge is building a life so peaceful that the people who try to destroy you become irrelevant. Clarissa wanted my house. She got nothing but a failed marriage and a reputation that follows her everywhere. Raymond wanted his inheritance. He got something better. A chance to become a man of integrity, to rebuild his relationship with his mother, to be part of a legacy that actually matters. And me? I got my home back. My dignity back. Myself back. I got peace. Some people might say I should have just given Raymond the house. That family is family, that blood is thicker than water, that you should forgive and forget and let things slide. But here's what I say, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The family you choose, the boundaries you set, the respect you demand, those things matter more than biology. I love my son. I will always love my son. But loving him doesn't mean letting him or his wife destroy me. Last Sunday, after dinner, Raymond and I sat on the porch watching the sunset. Patricia had gone inside to help with dishes. Sweet girl, that one. Mama, Raymond said quietly, I've been thinking. About Dad, about the house, about everything. And I realize now, you didn't take anything from me. You gave me something way more valuable. What's that, baby? You showed me what strength looks like. Real strength. The kind that doesn't need to be loud or aggressive. The kind that just stands firm and refuses to move. He looked at me, tears in his eyes. Dad protected you by building this house. You protected both of you by making sure it meant something. That's beautiful, Mama. I took his hand, weathered and work-worn like his father's. You're becoming him, you know. Every day more and more. I hope so, he whispered. I really hope so. We sat in comfortable silence, watching my roses catch the last of the light. A neighbor walked by and waved. A dog barked in the distance. Life, simple and sweet, unfolding around us. This is what victory looks like. Not a dramatic showdown or a crushing defeat of your enemies. Just a quiet evening on your own porch, surrounded by people who respect you, in a home that still feels like yours. I'll be 75 next month. Raymond's planning a party. Small, just family and close friends. He asked if I wanted anything special. Just you, I said. Just your time and your respect. You have both, Mama, he promised. Always. The Davenport family house opens next spring. They've asked me to cut the ribbon, to speak at the ceremony. I haven't decided what I'll say yet. Maybe something about Charles, about building with love and protecting with courage. Maybe something about how homes aren't just buildings, they're the stories we tell within their walls. Or maybe I'll just tell them what I wish I'd known sooner. You do not owe anyone your peace. Not your children, not your family, not anyone. You can be kind without being foolish. Patient without being a doormat. Forgiving without being blind. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well. It's choosing yourself. It's standing in your truth even when the whole world tells you to bend. It's sitting on your porch in your own house, drinking tea from your favorite cup, surrounded by roses that bloom because you tended them, knowing that when you're gone, children will heal in the home you protected. That's power. That's justice. That's peace. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. My roses glow in the fading light. Inside, I can hear Raymond and Patricia laughing about something in the kitchen. I close my eyes and feel Charles beside me. Not gone. Never really gone. Just transformed, like this house will be. From a place of pain into a place of healing. From a battleground into a sanctuary. We did it, baby, I whisper to the evening air. We protected our home. The wind rustles through the trees, warm and gentle, carrying the scent of roses and rain. And somewhere in that sound, I hear his voice. I always knew you would, Eunice. I always knew. I open my eyes and smile. Tomorrow, I'll tend my garden. Next week, I'll read to the children at the hospital. Next month, I'll celebrate another birthday, another year survived, another year of choosing myself. And when my time comes, whenever that is, I'll leave behind more than a house. I'll leave behind a lesson. Silence is not surrender. It's wisdom gathering its strength. And when that strength finally speaks, the whole world has to listen. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of your own strength, or gave you permission to finally choose yourself, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We share stories of quiet justice, powerful resilience, and the kind of love that demands respect. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me about a time you had to stand up for yourself. Tell me about the people who mistook your kindness for weakness. Tell me how you found your power. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And somewhere out there, someone needs to hear that they're not alone in their struggle. So subscribe. Share this story. And remember, you deserve peace. You deserve respect. And you never, ever have to apologize for protecting what's yours. Until the next story, this is Eunice Davenport reminding you, stand firm. Choose yourself. And let your silence speak volumes. The most powerful revenge is living well in the home your enemies thought they'd inherit. God bless you all.